And what I'm going to tell you a little bit about this afternoon is the work that I'm doing with the Alliance for Earth Observations. As Kevin said, I lead a small initiative called the Alliance for Earth Observations, and what it is approximately 22 companies, academic institutions, and non-governmental organizations that are working together to draw attention to key issue in Earth observations and to help better inform, whether it be policymakers or different business sectors, about the importance of Earth observations to most everything that we do. And in fact, wear this little logo right here. See, Barb gets a big logo, but I get a little logo. But so 3 years ago, we decided that we would try to put together a report that would help communicate key subjects and policy priorities in the area of Earth observations. And last year, we published our first EO Priorities Report 2014, and the 2015 report will be coming out in September, but I wanted to share with you some of the insights that this group had. And what we do is we work with our members to identify key topic areas, as I said, and the policy priorities, but we do it in a way that we can help draw attention to past reports that may have been written and the work that, for example, GAO is doing and looking at the weather data gap, and really call more attention to some of the work that other groups have done and say this is why this is significant. And so one of the things that's different than our 2014 report is that we really focused on 4 subject areas as opposed to 5 last year, and we haven't changed those priorities. We've combined weather and climate into one sector. We have water, which, you know, if you've been following any of the California wildfires and the drought situation that was in last year and this year in California, it's rather dramatic for our nation. We're also looking at the Arctic. Many times when we talk about Earth observations, we tend to forget that, you know, that's not one area that we have good observational capabilities. And with the United States having the chair of the Arctic Council this year, we would really like to ask that our leadership to help promote the use and advancement of their observations with our Arctic partners through the Arctic Council. And lastly, the 4th topic area is economic competitiveness. How can our federal government do a better job of helping to spur more private sector or academic advancement in the area of Earth observations? And so those are the 4 subject areas. Out of those 4 subject areas, there are a number of policy priorities that I just wanted to talk through, some of which you've heard already today, but I wanted to draw your attention to. The first is, which we heard a lot about in this morning's session, commercial weather policy. There are now 3 weather bills on the Hill right now, and the Congress is really wrestling with how do we incorporate commercial capabilities. Many people see this as competing with the federal government. However, you know, there's a strong understanding on behalf of the private sector and others that we see these systems as complementary. And so we are calling for advancement, again, in this area of policy for commercial weather data. Secondly, we've heard a lot of talk about partnerships. As you know, NOAA has a partnership policy that was developed around the weather sector to look at the roles for the public and private sectors. That policy right now is under a review through this Environmental Information Services Working Group of the NOAA Science Advisory Board, which I'm involved with, and we are looking at that policy and trying to better understand how can we make it fit a more rapidly evolving atmosphere. And so that is another area where we will be calling upon or identifying areas that the government can do a better job of looking and promoting public-private partnerships. I think the NOAA policy is specifically significant because it's really one of the few partnership policies that does exist. And if we can have a strong policy and a clear policy, I think such a policy can help be a model for other agencies. The fourth area is data policy. We've heard so much about big data, open data, and how we need a more flexible data policy. These things are all very important, and we hear a lot about full and open data policies, but when we come down to it, many times the first thing you'll hear from someone in the business sector is, I can't get access to that data, or I don't know how to find that data. So how can we, as a private sector voice, help elevate the importance of moving forward and really institutionalizing these big data and open data policies so it can benefit the U.S. economy? As I brought up earlier, our fifth priority is Arctic observations. And as you know, it is a very difficult area to do observations in, and we need a lot of in situ observations in the Arctic. And so this is another area that we will need better partnerships working with the other Arctic nations in developing systems and sharing information. I'm sure that's something that Barb Ryan and her group addressed through GEO, but it's certainly a place that we need advancement. And then I think, as we've heard over and over again, it is very important as new technology solutions are developed that there be a place that we can plug those into the federal government. And it's, as someone who's been on the outside and working with the government and works with business, I recognize the need to have some type of responsibility within a federal enterprise to bring new ideas and new technical solutions. And as we all know, unless you really know someone on the policy side, or whether you know someone who has a technical interest in your area, it's often quite difficult to bring forward new ideas and have them listened to. There many times aren't solicitations in place that allow us to bring technical advancements into the federal marketplace. And so this is another thing that the Alliance members felt very strongly about, that if we could, in fact, come up with a mechanism that companies can bring their, or academic institutions as well, could bring their ideas and have a much easier way of having those ideas reviewed in the federal marketplace. And lastly, our eighth recommended policy priority is really around partnerships. And you've heard that over and over again as we've talked about this days. The marketplace is changing. Academic institutions are as entrepreneurial in some sense as are private businesses. Yet academic institutions have access to more government funding than do private institutions. So how do we begin to look at that and help create a framework that will allow more innovation and more players to be responsive in this field of geospatial business? And with that, I'll say thank you very much.